Welcome back to another week of Balance Beings Uncut, where we talk about health, wellness, and everything in between. So Madison and I will be sharing the journey between health, where we got where we are now, more about Balance Beings and behind the scenes, because everyone always wants to know heaps of info about us and how we got to where we are now, especially with our past unhinged experiences, which we'll share a little bit in more detail as well.
Little sneaky peeks here and there.
So our goal with this podcast is not to just bring in education and show you the professional side of Balance Beings, but to also show you the real side of us. And that's why we named it Uncut, so that we could actually share the real and raw version of us through all our struggles, our parenting, our mothering, co-parenting, health, wellness.
All the mentee bees
Every week involved. I'm going to talk a bit more about business and the inside of like growing the business to where I have it now and where we all started. So yeah, that's what our goal is on the podcast, and we'll hopefully be delivering every fortnight to you guys.
And we'll leave question boxes up as well. If there's a certain topic that anybody really wants us to cover, let us know so that we can deliver for you. So this will be our first week where we're going to take you right back to the start and give you a bit of an overview of where we've been, where Brooke's been, and where she's heading as well. So tell me a little bit about take us back to the very start. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So obviously I started studying at a very young age. I started my degree at university because to be a naturopath, you have to do a 4-year degree, a health science degree in naturopathy. So there's only a couple unis that you can do that at, Torrens Uni or Endeavour College. I went to Endeavour College on the Gold Coast, and I was actually 17 when I first started my degree. I did turn 18 after our first few months, but straight out of uni, I was like the youngest person there. Also the youngest person in the cohort to graduate, which was a daunting feeling.
That is pretty scary.
I accidentally fell pregnant. Obviously, you know a bit more about that. I told you. You
yes, I do know that too. But way to call me out.
I didn't mean it like that, but I've already told you the story and stuff. But anyway, I was dating someone for a few months, and then I fell pregnant and decided to keep it. And I was keep Indiana, and I was second year in my degree, and obviously a lot of drama with family surrounding that and whatnot, which made it quite difficult. But I'm glad I obviously had her, because not only did she bring a lot of happiness into my life, but she also is the reason I found Balance Beings, because Balance Beings is obviously about kids, it's about mothering, it's about helping mothers and kids, and we're really testing base. And I don't think I would have found that niche and have the success I have if it wasn't for me having a child at 20
and that drive.
In my degree. And that drive to like really want to change what's out there. Because when I first finished and when I was looking at all the niches and the different areas I wanted to work in, I realized that there was people treating kids, but they weren't doing it looking at actually what was wrong. Like, oh, here's an ear infection.
Old school.
Yeah.
Old school naturopathy. And I think that's the biggest difference with Balance Beings is it's less traditional. We still have obviously a base of traditional medicine treatment within there, but it's definitely a lot more testing based, have results so that you feel 100% safe with what you're doing with your kids as well. So I obviously started the Balance Beings because no one was doing testing when they're treating kids. I didn't know anyone in Australia when I was researching that was treating kids and actually testing kids. Obviously that was 4 years ago now, so things have gotten better over time. I honestly think that's because we've changed that market a lot as well of what's expected. So we actually don't treat somebody without testing them first. So our initial consult just runs through everything that we need to know to figure out the most appropriate testing, because there's over 200 different tests we could do. We do everything from like heavy metal testing kids to microbiome testing, neurotransmitters,
to DNA testing.
So many, and it's so hard to know exactly which one to prioritize or which one to look at without having that really in-depth initial consultation. Because they're not like your 5-minute GP chats and check-ins. They go for 45 minutes to an hour for us to really ascertain everything that's going on. Even
naturopaths who treat in the first consult, they might have all the signs of adrenal fatigue, but how do you not know it's progesterone deficiency masking those symptoms as well?
Or thyroid. Because you could be treating cortisol, and it really could be thyroid. And our 2 cortisol herbs that we love, like withania and lemon balm,
contraindicated for thyroid. So
there you have
that's
it.
why it's so important to test, and I'm all for testing, and that's why I'm always teaching other nats how to test and all of that, because it's so important to test and not guess, because you could be making the patient worse, and a lot of symptoms do line up with other conditions as well. So yeah, anyway, when I first started and first graduated, I was like, I want to do testing based for kids because this doesn't bloody exist. It was mid-COVID, everything had just gone online. I graduated right in
that would
COVID
have been
2020.
so scary.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, the only option is to go online. I don't have a spare room in my...
Nobody taught you how to do online at uni either. No. It was
So
like,
it's just like,
no,
oh,
you're not going to be in a busy clinic.
I know, and
No.
the lecturers even saying things like, you're not ever going to see more than 5 patients a day, like setting you up for...
Unrealistic expectations for success.
Yeah, they didn't tell you you're going to be successful, because I guess it's hard to get that groove and get clients flowing and not having ebbs and flows. But I think that's because there's not a lot of naturopaths that really know how to drive a business, how to have a successful business, and also are a naturopath. A lot of times people are one or the other, and so they don't know how to do those things. But I've always had that kind of business mindset. I remember when I was 14, I said to my mum, I'm going to be a millionaire when I grow up. And she was like, no, you're not. Be realistic. I was like, I'm fucking going to be. You watch, mate. I still remember that. Like, night I walked out.
Yeah.
I know what I want to be.
Have you done any business courses?
I've never done anything. No. I think
Just
I'm just
raw
lucky
dogging.
enough to like niche. What do you say? What did you say?
I was like, just raw dogging business
Raw
lifestyle.
dogging, literally.
Yeah.
I think I always just had the drive that I think a lot of people don't have. And I always just decided what I was going to do. And I just was like, I don't care if I keep failing, I'm going to keep going until I succeed. And I did fail in a lot of things. There was a lot of things for balance beings that did and didn't work. But obviously, what I tell everyone is you've got to do something no one else is doing, and you've got to do it differently. I'll talk a bit more about business in another podcast, because this is our intro. But yeah, there's so much involved in the business side of things to actually grow a business. It doesn't just happen because you click your fingers. You actually have to put the work in. But,
I think that's like in your success e-course that really opens up heaps to like everything that you did wrong and how to help going forward.
So it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Went through everything, all the weaknesses, which is on BB Education, by the way.
Shout out.
But yeah, going back to like when I first started. So yeah, I was living in Adelaide with my partner at the time. I had Indiana. I had just given birth to Sterling 3 weeks after I graduated my degree. And I got pretty bad postpartum depression with Indy. And that's the reason I went back to uni after 6 weeks, because I needed that sense of identity, which I think a lot of mums do struggle with. So when...
What's the age gap?
Less than 2 years.
Yeah.
So after Sterling was born, I decided to go back and start my business as soon as I could after he was born, so that I didn't get postpartum depression. It was like my little side gig on the side that I just really wanted to focus on, so that my mental health would be okay. Essentially, that's why I did it. And so yeah, 3 weeks postpartum, I opened Balance Beings, which was about 5 weeks after I graduated.
Wow.
And that was 4 years ago in October, which is
pretty
exciting.
much like getting signed off with all that paperwork.
Yeah, straight
being
away.
ready to go.
Had my website ready, everything.
Still in like the depths of postpartum.
Yeah.
And just really,
Yes, and I remember
scrounging
crying because no one booked in the first day. The first week I had no one, and I was like crying, thinking, oh my God, I spent my only $5,000 to my name. And it didn't go anywhere. And I was like, I've just failed my family. That's how it felt. And I was like, literally so depressed.
Is
it was
it
postpartum
this, or is
as well.
it postpartum?
Baby blues.
Is it like
all of
6 weeks postpartum?
Yeah.
Am I anemic? Do I have enough B12?
Yeah, we need to go do a little postpartum podcast as well, which we can run through as our second podcast. But yeah, so that's where it all started. And I didn't I was living in a 2-bedroom unit. So I opened Balance Beings in a garage. My consult room was a garage. I did it fully online because I didn't have any other options. And I was like, oh.
And COVID too.
Yeah.
Like, did you find there was a lot of people wanting to book in during COVID with that lockdown?
I had no one booked in for the first 2 weeks. So it's obviously really scary. But after that first block, after 3 weeks, I had 3 bookings. And then it kind of just ebbed and flowed from there. I knew how they booked in. So like when someone books in, figure out how they're doing that business-wise.
Do you still remember your first 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
I do.
Yeah.
Thyroid case, straight off the bat, that was hard.
Yeah.
With diabetes. But anyways, wasn't what I was niching in, but I'll take it. And so, yeah, I started out in the garage and then obviously grew. Second year into Balance Beings, we had our first employees, and then we're 4 years in now, and there's 9 of us, 6 naturopaths, 2 warehouse assistants, and then we've got our admin, who is also our manager, and then Madison, who stepped into the role as our naturopath manager. So we've got those split different roles because you are an amazing naturopath.
Thank you.
And you actually only started a year ago, so
I haven't even been here a year yet. I think I'm at 11 months now.
You just cut straight through. So, yeah. What made you feel like you wanted to work for us?
So I was also postpartum. My last baby, Hamish, he was born in May, and I was petrified of not having something to go to, because that sense of identity, because with my youngest, with my eldest, I was really lost. I was 18 when I had him. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was studying law at the time. I always wanted to be in medicine. Yeah, I always wanted to be in medicine. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. Enrolled in teaching, was kind of just like fluttering around, didn't really know what to do. We split up. Yeah, single mum life for a bit there. Paving that way, lived in pretty much like the slumps of where I'm from.
Logan?
No, not Logan. But yeah, so that was very different. My second was born during COVID, and I've got like photos and videos of me baby wearing her postpartum, having to do exams. I remember I didn't have a desk at the time, and not because we didn't have one, we just didn't have the space. And I actually was studying on my ironing board as my table with like baby wearing Emmylou. It was intense.
Goals, if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, so I really wanted something to go to postpartum, knowing that, and because I really love treating in the area of women's hormones and fertility, and yeah, so I wanted to help people get that outcome, but I just knew I didn't have business in me. Like, I've got 3 kids. I didn't want to have to put all of my time and effort into another baby, pretty much, while I had my 3. That was giving me anxiety. Like, I would have been happy with 2 or 3 clients a week, but then that also isn't me. Like, I thrive off of
2 or 3 clients, you reckon?
I know. Gosh, imagine that. I would be so bored. I thrive off of, I'm one of those people that gets things done with pressure. Like, I've got a really big pressure response. Every university assignment due being submitted the night it's due.
Oh, I'm the opposite. I'm like due 2 weeks before, already send it 2 weeks prior.
No, I did not have that. I don't know if it was because of the kids, and I worked and studied the whole way through. I never had a break studying. I'd always do like 4 subjects and study over Christmas. So yeah, and then I just wanted to find somewhere that aligned with me, and obviously like I followed Balanced Beings all throughout my degree. Well, not throughout my entire degree. It was towards the end of my degree when you opened, because I graduated.
2020 we opened?
Yeah, I was supposed to graduate.
When did you graduate?
2021, but then I had to push over to 2022 and finish off clinics. So yeah, I graduated in the March of 2022.
And then I think we hired you in around August.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a few weeks. I just, aligned with the business and really enjoyed it. Like, coming into an actual structure. Yeah. I really love structure. I really love not having to carve out structure as well.
But this is the way it's done.
Yeah, like that just, I was like, okay, cool. I can strive to this and I can hit goals, and I know where I want to be and what I want to achieve. And then,
So she was working for us, Madison was working for us for about 4 months, and then I was like, oh, I see this girl going places, because everyone's got different types of personality traits. You know, some people just want to work and be really good worker bee. Some people want to strive and path the way and educate. And I just noticed that there was something different about Madison, and that was when I was still training up and interviewing everyone for Balanced Beings. And I knew that in order to keep growing the business and do amazing things that we're doing, like a podcast and supplement line and all of that type of stuff, then what we needed was some managers. So our manager stepped up to be a manager instead of just admin clerk. And then I saw you, and I thought that you would be great to be the naturopath manager. And I think you've been doing a great job.
Oh, thank you.
I think you fit the role
really
perfectly.
rewarding. It's really rewarding. I was afraid at the start, because I was like, I'm I'm not done seeing people because I was like, I'll have to pull back from a few clients. Like, I'm not really ready to do that yet. Like, I love what I do and I love treating and I love being there, but I also love prac education. I love teaching. They call me the resource queen because
You're the go-to girl for everything.
I don't know. I had some really amazing just experiences. I think if you've been through tough battles, like I've got a son with neurodivergency. I've got
all the things. And I feel like the best thing about like balanced beings, and the reason I love it so much, is because when we hire, we don't just let them go off on their own little tangent. Like, they're mentored one-on-one for 6 weeks. All their treatment plans are checked. Everything's reviewed. They've got Madison there one-on-one with them, talking through them every week.
I've got my phone on Do Not Disturb right now because it would normally be popping off on a Tuesday.
But I'm lucky to have Madison because otherwise we wouldn't be able to grow Balanced Beings to where it is now, the team of 9 of us, and, you know, next year's goal is a team of 15. And with a commercial property, which I'd had... Shout out. I actually had some news for you today. We signed a commercial property in Burleigh Heads.
Oh, Burleigh. Yes. There's good restaurants in Burleigh. I can make that happen.
So we can go do a little restaurant in Burleigh Heads and
little bougie.
Have our little
bougie brunch
online clinic at Burleigh.
That's so exciting. Oh my gosh, face to face.
Perfect timing for our supplement line to be launched as well. We'll have it before then.
Just popping off.
45 days, baby.
I thought that was the countdown to my holiday. I'm like, I think I go on a holiday in 45 days.
No, baby, we got the commercial property.
Oh my gosh, so good. That's going to be amazing. So yeah, obviously you spoke a little bit about business struggles and starting out during postpartum. So what were some of your biggest struggles that you faced at the start?
I think the biggest struggles that I faced at the start was... I was going to say the same thing. The biggest struggles I faced at the start would definitely be the postpartum depression that I've always kind of struggled with. And then also just like when Natch has to leave. So we've got a really good structure now, so we avoid that. But when obviously like someone leaves and they take all your clients with you, you had a certain amount of income that you're earning, and then that's what you've based off your whole life, and you've based off the business. So like it's such a loss of, it becomes such a problem when someone does leave because you have that loss of income. And then really struggled with that postpartum depression and just juggling that mum life and that sense of identity.
And you were probably trying to like balance having somebody else there that you could give some clients to be able to open up more time.
Yes.
For yourself as well.
Yeah, really
that would be so hard.
It's good now that we've got such a good team because we can bounce off ideas with everyone, and we've got so many people to fall back on. So we're really lucky now. We don't have that problem now if someone was to leave because we've built it off a lower amount.
And if somebody's sick, like we've got enough people to juggle if somebody needs, which is so good.
Really lucky in that aspect. So I feel like, besides that, I would say I've always struggled more being a mum than I've struggled being a business owner. And like they say that when those tested with cortisol levels as a mum, they're higher than those as a business owners in comparison. And that's because being a mum is more stressful, and I find it much more difficult than being a business owner because you've got more structure, you've got more things that do and don't work. Like it's just more clean cut. Whereas being a mum, you've got to learn what works for your child, and then all of a sudden they'll have a growth spurt and then that doesn't work anymore.
It's something new.
Yeah.
Or like different, I feel that.
What would you say is your biggest tip for postpartum mums and just mums that are struggling? And the fatigue?
There's so many.
I've got 3 things.
My biggest thing would definitely be go get a check. So like with postpartum, the 3 times I've been postpartum, my 6-week checkup, I've always booked one for me and one for Bub. That's what they say to do. And it's always all about Bub still, which thank you. And then they just go, how are you? You're right. Let's get you on birth control. Nah, never had that.
Really?
Yeah, I had the most brushed over postpartum check. I remember being, what's that first one that you go for? Are they 7 days or 5 days? It's like a week postpartum.
I don't remember, it's so long ago now.
I had a week postpartum, and it was then that they offered me birth control. And I was like, sis, nothing's happening.
I didn't get the clear until 6 weeks, and I was like, oh, give me it 3 months.
Yeah, like she offered me birth control at a week, and then again at 6 weeks, and then that was all my coverage. Like no talk about hormones, or I was iron deficient because I was vegetarian for my last 2 pregnancies and started eating meat towards the end of Hamish's because I started craving beef jerky and it just had to happen. But yeah, like there was no, my job as facilitating baby to come into the world had been, they stopped checking me then. So my iron levels never recovered.
And the thing is, postpartum, they don't even check the right things anyway. And most of the doctors don't even test the full thyroid function. They don't test magnesium and zinc, which are very common nutrients become deficient because in labour you're using, every time you contract, magnesium and calcium. And so it's really important from 37 weeks onwards to be on a magnesium and calcium supplement, like a Carmex or an Energy X. We love that brand because magnesium glycinate is the best type of magnesium that you want to be on. Best absorbing magnesium.
They're all electrolytes too, so they're going to help with that. Yeah. And even postpartum, so if you're breastfeeding, that's such a part of continual supplementation.
And if you're not on magnesium and calcium when you're going through those contractions and through childbirth, and then postpartum while breastfeeding, you're going to be deficient in those nutrients, especially because most of magnesium is depleted in Australia's soil. There isn't any, so you need it. It's probably my one non-negotiable product for mums and for fatigue and for postpartum is magnesium.
My 100%. Magnesium's just there, like
Carmex for the win.
Yes, it's definitely one that's needed. Checking in on things like iron, like you lose through a vaginal birth, you lose blood. That's all a natural part of the birth process. But if somebody's iron deficient anemic at 36 weeks, yes, the best way to get that up in Australia is by supplementing, and they often push for a iron transfusion. But with the right supplements, with the right support, you can get that up through supplementation. But that means that you need to continue that on postpartum as well, because you're going to have that dip. And if you're not checking in on those stores, I have a family history of thyroid. My thyroid was never checked by my GP. None of this was checked in postpartum. So and that's fatigue. There's so much. Like I was just saying to the girls on the way in, this postpartum...
And naturopath, by the way.
Yeah, and naturopath. This postpartum was one of my hardest ones that I've been through, and the kids were almost back to back. So like Emmy Lou, who's my middle, and then Hamish is my last. They were about they're just over 2 years apart, being born, vegetarian through there.
And for you guys, just so you know, we recommend naturopaths and even Chinese practitioners 2 years it takes for your nutrients to be replenished after giving birth before falling pregnant again. So you should be waiting 2 years. And if you're not waiting 2 years to fall pregnant again, then you need to be checking in on your magnesium, your zinc, your iron, your folate, your B12, your thyroid, your homocysteine.
So much.
You need to see if you've got that the B12 and folate. Check for
folate,
that homocysteine.
for sure.
So it's so important to do those things because there's likelihood it's going to be uncommon for you not to be deficient in one of those things because you're not giving your body enough time to actually replenish.
And I breastfed Emmy Lou through my entire pregnancy with Hamish as well, so I was deplete, to say the least.
Exactly. Which we don't recommend.
No, don't. But I checked in on these things. So I ran my own pathology throughout my entire 100%. Pregnancy and ran my own pathology in postpartum, and I supplemented to what I needed because I see so many people post online like, you don't need supplements, you don't need this, you can get it from
then you
food.
need to do everything properly, and then where are you getting your magnesium there? There might be some magnesium in nuts and cashews and spinach, but have you actually analysed to see how much? Because we live in Australia. Yeah.
And there's glyphosate.
And I'm all for avoiding supplementation if it's not required, but unfortunately the way we're living with all the chemicals and xenoestrogens that are in our environment, it's honestly hard to avoid supplementation with people. Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
But we get them back to homeostasis so they don't need it long term, right? Yeah. We don't want you to be on supplements for 6 months or forever. We want it to be a short term goal to get your body back to homeostasis so we can come back off it. But yeah.
And then little tweaks thereon. So if you're predisposed to this, how can we do it through diet and lifestyle? Mm-hmm. because that's such a big part of naturopathic medicine as well.
So definitely getting your bloods checked postpartum, like what we mentioned, is the bare minimum. Or if you're a mum and you're fatigued and you might have given birth 2 years ago, doesn't mean you're not deficient in these nutrients, because
Doesn't mean
you're not always going to
postpartum
replenish
still.
it.
Yeah.
But because that postpartum depletion and exhaustion, that can live on when your child is even 5 if you don't replenish those stores. And a lot of that postpartum depression and anxiety will actually come on because you are deficient in something as well.
And then there's so much with the gut health to do with that as well. If your gut's not functioning optimally,
and you're not absorbing the nutrients,
then
you're not going to absorb the nutrients. Like there's cells in the stomach, and that's where we absorb our nutrients. Zonulin and secretory IgA, mainly zonulin. And if they're not functioning properly and they're damaged, which a lot of people's are because of the way we eat.
So it's like our leaky gut markers.
Yeah. So I would say, if you have tried supplementing or you've tried checking the general bloods and you feel like not everything's getting checked, then see a naturopath. Get the bloods checked, get your microbiome checked, because it's not worth you feeling like crap for the rest of your life.
And those reference ranges are so different too. So one that I always talk about in my consults, because I have a lot of clients come in and they say that my bloods are fine. My GP checked them, they're fine.
Send them to me though.
Send them through. So, because we're in Queensland, one of our pathology companies is called QML, and their in-house reference range. So each pathology company has a different in-house reference range. So remember, like mean, median, and mode through high school. Pathology in-house reference ranges catch in that median. So as people get sicker, as they're not seeing people at that optimal, they bring that reference range down. So QML's reference range for vitamin D is, as long as you're over 49, which is
we want someone
trash.
To get 100. 100 is optimal at least.
Yeah.
Even 120.
Yeah. Preconception and autoimmune, you're looking, around 120, 150 to be safe.
Yeah. So 50 is outrageous, and it doesn't mean your doctor might be like, oh, everything's perfect, but
that could be 51, and it's not lit up red.
And then they don't supplement or do anything, and then all the symptoms are coming from a vitamin D deficiency that they're not replacing because they didn't check in the suboptimal levels.
But then they go through and they're like, okay, so your GGT or one of your liver markers is slightly suboptimal, but that's okay. It's nothing. It's just one.
Yeah, it's fine.
But then your vitamin D is 51, and it's like, oh, maybe it's not in red.
Yeah.
Yes. So then they might go. You might get a good GP. I do have a really good GP. I do love my GP. But it's just like
the lack of links, I think, as well. Like we just see the body differently. They can't know everything, and I get that. They know what they need to know for their job, and we need to know what we need to know for our job. For example, like again, Madison was just talking about the raised liver enzymes. If you've got raised liver enzymes and then you've got suboptimal vitamin D, well, guess what? Where is vitamin D actually activated?
And converted.
In the liver. So if your liver is not functioning properly and those liver enzymes are raised, you can go on vitamin D supplementation, but that ain't going to do anything because you need activated vitamin D because your liver is not activating it. So all these little intricate things on why you might be feeling like shit, fatigue, and postpartum wise, and it's because no one's checking your things properly.
Yeah.
Checking your blood. So blood's getting checked properly and actually analysed properly would be the biggest tip. The second one is get yourself magnesium because everyone needs it, and if you don't need it, you're going to weed out anyway. And then my other third one would be put your kids in childcare.
Oh God.
Or have like someone else to support you. Maybe not childcare because then they're going to come home sick and they're going to be even more fatigued from dealing with their shit.
Have a dedicated support person. So like I have a pretty supportive husband.
Don't have kids.
I have a pretty supportive husband, but I've got to say, like, my support person's my mom. Like, she can just come in, see...
My mom takes sickies for me all the time, bless her.
Like, she can just come in, see what's happening, and just do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, yeah, definitely a support person. And not feeling the burden of feeling guilty for putting yourself first. I know so many people put their kids first, but remembering that putting yourself first is putting your kid first, because that sense of identity and having time out for yourself is actually going to make you a better parent. When me and my their dad split up, I actually became a better parent than I ever have been before because we have a 50% split. And I can talk about that more in a different series, but that actually allowed me to be a better parent because I was more switched on. I had more time for them when I was actually with them because I was doing everything I needed to do for me, my mental health, and for my business and work outside of that. Yeah. I think that's one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Not because I don't love my kids, but because I can love them more because I have that balance.
I always talk about trajectory. So like your family's trajectory. How do you want your daughter to raise kids? Do you want her to be going like that? I always talk about it if my husband and I have a fight, shout out. Like, do you want your kids to then replicate this intergenerationally? Is that how you want your daughter to be spoken to? Is that how you want your son to
And when I was thinking about that Europe trip too, I was so worried about them. I was like, I don't want to go to Europe for 3 weeks without my kids because I'm going to feel like a crappy mum. But then I realized that when Indiana has kids, I want her to go to Europe with her friends for a month and leave her kids with me. Like, I want her to feel like she's got a sense of identity when she has kids. Not everything else has to stop.
Yeah, not
your
a
world
mum
still
first.
flows.
Yeah.
And you can still do things for yourself as a mum. And I think people need to stop making people feel guilty for that, and you need to stop feeling guilty for that as well.
Yeah.
Because that's when my life came back.
My identity faced a lot around the kids for a long time. Probably still half does, lol. But I used to say, oh, hi, I'm Madison. I'm a mom. I'm studying. And when I finished, I had a really big change because I was like, no, I'm not a student anymore. My entire identity changed when you're not a student because you're not a student anymore.
Yeah.
And I changed that I'm me. I'm a naturopath. I'm also a mum of 3 kids. And it doesn't mean that I love my career and my job more than my children. I love my children. They're everything. But I've done so much for myself as well, and that needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's really important, and to put yourself first, get those bloods done.
Eat your breakfast.
Have 3 regular meals a day. That's another tip. Don't skip a fucking meal.
Don't eat crusts for breakfast.
You're not allowed to leave the house until you have a meal.
Yeah.
That's one of my good policies, one thing that you taught me as well, because I obviously started seeing Madison as one of my naturopaths because accountability is everything for me, and that's one thing I struggle with, and I need someone to bounce ideas off and to be there. And I'm not allowed to leave the house without having a meal now, and I think that's incredible because it's like, I don't care how busy you are. If you're going to be late, you have to eat.
Yeah, and it's the difference between waking up 10 minutes early.
Yeah, and the thing is, those proteins and fats which are in meals, instead of snacking all day as a mum, they're going to keep you balanced. And then you're going to be a better mum because you're not going up and down like an angry bitch.
Not like a blood glucose roller coaster. Yeah. And then you're just like...
blood glucose is nice and straight, so you're not going to be as angry. You're going to be happier.
You're not going to be hangry. You're not going to be hangry at your children.
Yeah.
And then it happens to me more often than not. I'll be like, oh, and then I'll make myself a protein smoothie or just something.
Yeah.
If I need something quick and one-handed, I've just loaded it with protein. We've got some frozen avocado, some nuts, some sort of fat component in there, and then literally like 15 minutes later I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like,
Maybe I was
whole
just
mind
hungry.
changes, and I'm like, oh my god, it wasn't their fault, it was me. I'm the crazy one.
I was just hungry. And then that also goes for kids too. I hear so many...
The first thing we do for mood regulation.
So many parents like, oh, they're having huge meltdowns after school. Well, when was the last time they ate?
Yeah.
Most schools...
And when was the last time they ate something that wasn't just fruit? If you're going to give your kids fruit, put them with some nut. Give them some balance of blood sugar regulation. Allow them to have some proteins and fats with every meal. Give them that option.
Yeah, we should do a podcast on children's foods.
We will.
That'll
and
be
mood
really
and
good.
behaviour.
Yes, love it.
Yeah.
Just brainstorming mid-podcast.
So that's definitely our biggest goals postpartum-wise. Eat regularly, what do healthy fats and proteins look like for mums that are nice and easy? Some nuts, protein powder if you need to, chicken, lean meats, organic eggs.
Yeah, organic eggs are life-changing.
2 a day, keeps the doctor away.
Yeah.
People seeing this are scared of cholesterol. Oh my fucking god, these bitches recommending eggs. It's going to clog your arteries.
And fats, oh my god. Don't make me eat all the calories. But no, seriously. It's all about balance, and I think we're going to do a podcast on weight training and stuff, and how cycles disappear. So we've got so much exciting stuff coming.
So watch out for that. But yeah, if you're a postpartum mum, those tips: eat regularly, eat healthy fats, proteins, meats, eggs. Do like an overnight oat pudding or something like that
Yeah,
you can bring
so
in the
good.
car with you if you need to. You know, making sure those bloods are checked, go on some magnesium and give yourself time away from the kids if you feel like you need that, because that is something that we find a lot of mums do need.
And it can't be in self-care time. So it can't
be, I'm having a bath but I can hear my kids screaming.
It can't be I'm going for a shower by myself.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
No.
Madison, it doesn't count.
I don't ever have that.
Thanks for joining us on this week's Unhinged Health Journey. Until next time, may your days be natural and your weeks be balanced.